Talking about a Ukraine. Am I holding a North Korean flag? Yo, you've got this on camera, player. Am I holding a North Korean flag? No, I'm not.
Hi, so today I wanted to make a different kind of video, and I thought I'd bring a friend along, and yeah, I don't know what else to say. Here he is.
Great to be here, Ran. Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate being here at the family home. I've been made to feel extremely welcome. The food's been absolutely fantastic, beautifully spicy. So here we are. You wanted to ask me a few questions, and so please fire away.
Yeah, I mean, at the start of the video, people may have seen a snippet of like that anti-Trump protest that you went to, and I thought I'd give you a chance to just explain yourself and give people a sort of perspective on, well, better understanding of who you are and what your attention was there. And you went to a march last week, anti-NATO. Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Sorry. Go on.
Yeah. So I just thought I'd let you because that's the first thing they saw before. So explain the anti-Trump. What was your intention there?
Well, I've been involved in politics for more than a dozen years now, both as a member of the Labour movement, the wider progressive movement, and someone who's consistently campaigned and struggled and worked towards popularising, a socialist way of thinking. Now, the demonstration that you're referring to, the first demonstration which the video was taken at, was an anti-Trump counter-demonstration. He was visiting this country, and myself, other members of the Communist Party and Young Communist League, alongside tens of thousands of others from all across Britain, we wanted to go and voice our opposition, not merely to Donald Trump and his personal visit, but to all of those things that he is a figurehead for: neoliberal economics, anti-democratic practices, support for interventionism and warmongering across the world. It was a great day. We had fantastic weather. It was brilliantly spirited, very well turned out. People knew why they were there. And the whole day came off entirely peaceful, as I recall. I think there were zero or next to no arrests, despite the streets of London being crowded with people. And it went really very well. So yes, I was very pleased to be there that day. The demonstration that you referred to most recently was actually last week. When, unfortunately, Trump didn't get the message the first time around, so he decided to show his ugly mug here once again. For the NATO summit, which was, I believe, the initial gathering for that was at Buckingham Palace. So we assembled in Trafalgar Square and marched down past the Mall to Buckingham Palace itself, where a large rally was held in opposition. Now, again, much like the previous Trump demonstration, this was actually midweek, so there were thousands of people rather than tens of thousands of people there. But we made our point very clearly. We do not want any part of NATO. We do not want any part of continuing conflicts around the Middle East. We want our country and our people to be out of these wars, and we want these wars to stop. So no to Trump and no to NATO.
Okay, and in the video you had a communist flag, and the guy asked you about it. So for someone who's less familiar with the Communist Party in England, so what's that all about?
Well, it's interesting that you use the word communist flag. I mean, there are communist parties in every country and every corner of the world, whether they're in government or out of government. The hammer and sickle, as well, is the traditional, or one of the traditional communist symbols, alongside the wheat sheaves and gear wheels, and even things like the torch and the pen. These are also traditional communist symbols. But the hammer and the flag that you're referring to is the flag of the Communist Party of Britain. So the hammer and sickle there is a uniquely British hammer and sickle. The design was actually done by a fella called Eric Gill.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, not an expert.
So no, that's the Eric Gill hammer and sickle. That is in one corner of the flag. And obviously along the bottom it reads Communist Party. There is no such thing as a communist flag. There are many communist, socialist, and workers and progressive flags. Ours is merely the flag of the Communist Party of Britain, and we're tremendously proud of it. We carry it on almost every demonstration to obviously identify who we are, to publicise our organisation, to make it clear that our organisation is playing a role in that particular demonstration or that particular activity. We have it on street stalls, we have it at public meetings, we have it on May Day parades. So the flag shouldn't just be taken merely as a symbol of protest or a symbol of opposition to something. It should also be taken as a symbol of what we're trying to build. Real democracy, workers' democracy.
So what's the intention with England in that sense? Like, so what do you want the party to become? So obviously this election is mainly between Labour and Conservative, so what's your intention with the party moving forward?
Well, the reason I'm a member of the Communist Party for several reasons. First and foremost, that I believe politics is far more than just fighting and winning elections. Now, that is what the Labour Party exists to do. That's also really what the Conservative Party and the Liberal Party and the Brexit Party exist to do, is to fight and win elections. They have realistically, they as organisations have no other reason to exist. Now, certainly, of course, there are people in the Labour Party and in the Conservative Party who are involved in Palestine Solidarity Campaign, in Cuba Solidarity Campaign, in Venezuela and Nicaragua Solidarity Campaigns, in Stop the War Coalition, in the Campaign for Nuclear Disarmament. I would like to point out infinitely more people in the Labour Party rather than the Tory Party in terms of this activism. But those organisations don't, they might affiliate, but they are electoral vehicles. That is what the Labour Party and all typical non-communist parties are. The Communist Party's aim is to not win political power, but to win state power as what we call the vanguard of the working class, or the vanguard, the spear tip, if you like, of the majority population of not just Britain, but of any given country. That's, the way I like to sum it up is that the Labour Party wants a bigger slice of the cake for working people. What the Communist Party wants, we're not particularly interested in this cake or that cake. We want the bakery for working people.
I'm trying to understand the analogy. Could you explain the analogy, if you don't mind? What do you mean by that? You want the bakery and...
Well, I hope that your viewers will be able to derive what meaning they want from that. Yeah. But to explain it more succinctly, or in a more expansive manner, political power is what the Labour Party is going for, or the Conservative Party is going for. Political power is what this election is about. It is a very small section of where real power lies. In this election, being contested between the various parties, there is no question of the role of the monarchy, or the power that the monarchy holds. It's obviously one of the largest landowners in the country. It is a fundamental component part of the British bourgeois state apparatus, and yet it's not up for discussion. It's not up for question. There is no referendum, there is no election, there is no vote as to what is happening there. So that's totally divorced from political power. Consequently, the armed forces are subordinate to not the government. Their allegiance is again to that monarchy. So the coercive means of the state apparatus, those things that if you don't want to do something, that have the power to make you do something. For example, force striking people back to work at the point of, at the barrel of a gun, as has happened, curiously enough, under Churchill. Welsh miners were dragged out of their homes when they were on strike and forced back to work at the point of a bayonet. Did you know this?
No.
Well, unfortunately, there's a great deal of British history that, if people were more aware of it, I think that would shape their perspective on the present really quite profoundly. Another aspect of state power would be the Treasury and the civil service. Okay, they hold immense power in terms of how things are actually run in this country. But again, the civil service isn't up for election. the civil service, in many, in certain aspects of it, it's the old boys club. I don't believe, and I believe it would be a great mistake to think that we live, or that we live in a democracy, a liberal democracy, or that Britain is a liberal democracy. It isn't. It is much better described as a liberal oligarchy. And those various things that I've just mentioned, so the monarchy, the police, the armed forces, the judiciary, the civil service, these are the various pillars and others that comprise what we as communists would describe as state power. And the people who are actually currently in control of state power also understand that this is truly what state power actually is. The Labour Party is only going for one of those arms, which is office, political power, which is, in the grand scheme of things, a minor section of that. We in the Communist Party do not merely want the working class to hold political power. Because if you just hold political power, what can happen? Like in Bolivia, that we've seen in the last 4 weeks, political power can quite easily be swept away. De jure, do you understand the difference between de jure and de facto?
I don't know what either means.
De jure means by right.
And
okay.
de facto means?
De facto means these are the facts on the ground. So de jure, Evo Morales in Bolivia won an election, okay, by just over 10% of a majority. He won by more than 10% of the vote. Now, there are very, very few elections where that happens. Very, very few. Look at the Brexit, or referendums. Look at the Brexit referendum. Look at the last election in this country. In fact, look at most elections in this country and in American history as well, in Yankeestan's history. The last president, I think, the last US president to win a greater than 10% electoral majority was Ronald Reagan. That was 30 years ago. Evo Morales won the election with more than 10%. And yet, there was a right-wing, some would argue, or certain sections of that coup were fascistic or fascist elements. There was a right-wing coup, and that government was swept away, that de jure government was swept away de facto by another pillar of state power, the army and the police. And now an unelected government, a real dictatorship, exists in Bolivia, and it's killing people. This is why it's important to control not merely political power, but state power. And that is what the Communist Party's analysis and eventual objective is to obtain. I would like to point out that organisationally, we are a very long way away from that. But in the past in this country, the Communist Party has had 50, 60,000 members. So it was at one stage an extremely mainstream political perspective, and the capture of state power was its aim. And it is my aim as a comparatively young member of the Communist Party to rebuild our organisation and the labour movement to that point. And I think we're doing very well.
Yeah, I didn't want to get this. Well, as you're a member of the party, so I did want to give you a chance to we'll basically talk about the party, but just talk about. Yeah, so would you let's say you say you don't follow mainstream media, but would you say you're left? Well, based on their definition, would you say you're left wing?
I'm certainly a member of the left wing. Yes. Yes.
So, how did you vote in the EU referendum 3 years ago? Then?
I voted to leave.
Do you want to say why? Because people always say that the left younger always vote to remain, while the older right wing tend to. That's the general vibe. So,
well,
what's your reasoning behind wanting to leave?
I would want to make the point that vibe is. It's a generalization at best. There are plenty of people who want to see greater economic cooperation and cultural cooperation and political cooperation and security cooperation with other countries in Europe and across the wider world. However, what they're looking for is a genuine internationalism. The European Union is not a genuine internationalism. It is a faux or a fake internationalism. The EU is no friend to working people. I mean, I voted against the EU for several reasons. First and foremost, the European Union is a racist organisation. Why on earth, and I say that because why on earth should a Frenchman or a German or a Spaniard or any member of the European Union, why on earth should they have more right to come here or more special privileges to come here over and above a Canadian or a South African or an Australian or somebody from China or somebody from Japan or somebody from India or Sri Lanka? Why?
Yeah. Well, you say the foundations are racist, but like I voted to remain because I thought, sure, had we Remain won, I would have said surely the next step would be to like have reform in the EU. And you say, are you saying they'd be having the EU? We are beyond reforming it.
You've brought us nicely on to another reason. Is yes, I believe the EU to be an irreformable, anti-democratic organisation which solely exists to serve the interests of the ruling classes of various European countries. People have been trying to... This idea of the Jacques Delors social Europe, quote-unquote, mentality is and always has been a dream. It has no basis in reality. People have been trying to reform the European Union from within. Okay, the German left, the French left. There have been plenty of progressives who have tried to reform this organisation, and what has happened? We have seen the EU take on an even more repressive character when it comes to dealing with the present migrant crisis, when it comes to economic dumping of products across the world, destroying domestic industries. The EU is becoming more reactionary, not less. And these people that point out that, certain sections of the British ruling class only wanted to back leave because I think the EU was about to pass a law on tax havens or financial disclosure. The fact of the matter is there are certain, the majority section of the British ruling class supported Remain. The vast majority of the British ruling class supported Remain. Why? Because it was in their direct economic interest to do so. The EU, another reason to leave the European Union as a progressive, the campaign being, obviously, everything these days, unfortunately, is buzzwords. We've obviously got the buzzword of Brexit. On the left, we've got the buzzword of Lexit, the left exit from the European Union. Ba-dum-bum-tsh. So, in a Lexit camp, we are absolutely of the opinion that the European Union's laws, many of them would not allow even the current Labour Manifesto or the 2017 Labour Manifesto to be implemented, because it necessitates that you have to farm out for procurement various sections of your public sector. Now, certain countries haven't done that. France hasn't done that with its railways, for example. Germany hasn't done that with its railways. But we have. And being constrained by, if you had a government that had the political will to say, no, we're not going to do that, we are going to keep these services for the public and in the public interest, then the EU legislation might not be so damaging. However, we have a government instead, an entirely bourgeois government with, up until very recently, the left in total disarray, where that government would instead use that legislation, that EU legislation, as a legalistic barrier that they could hide behind and say, well, we didn't want to privatise NHS cleaning services or catering services, but the European Union has made us walk down this path.
So basically, they're just moving the blame from one side to the other.
Absolutely. Whilst at the same, yeah, they're moving the blame, but they are of course the ones taking the decision to privatise, and that they are all their friends, their family, their allies are the ones in those companies that are getting these extremely lucrative public sector contracts.
Yeah, fair about that. Well, again,
I would read more if you've heard about it. I would explore it and read more deeply into it.
it's on my list of actually it's on the very detailed recommended reading list that you keep telling me to start, but it's getting on the list. It's getting on the list.
I wouldn't worry. There's more important things for you to be getting on with besides that. You know.
Yeah, life gets in the way. So, well, before me and you, we met informally, before when I thought you were a surfer dude, and then randomly you share that video, and I thought, you're, before when I met you and I started talking, I thought, I want to interview once because you sound so, but I thought you wouldn't want to talk about something serious, and then found out you are very serious and stuff and passionate.
Well, I'm a very firm believer that if you didn't laugh both at yourself and at the state of the wider world, you'd quite quickly crack up. Certainly I know I would. That's one of the reasons why I'm consistently chuckling. So once I enjoy a good laugh, absolutely, and enjoy a good news up, I think that's very important. There are certain things that are in this world no laughing matter that we do have to take seriously, and that we do have to understand as far as we possibly can, and engage as deeply as possible so that we can make them better, you know?
Yeah. Generally, I tell my friends who are probably watching this, that I'm not serious because life is serious without me being serious. You have to be lighthearted with certain things. And while the interview in the initial video, I said, I think his impression was that you're basically a guy, no shirt, with a random flag that he didn't really understand. And the guy, no, I think he was being polite, but he thought, oh, I got this guy, I'm going to outwit him, and then you start talking, and he was like, he basically took a knife to a gunfight in that sense.
The fella.
No, but again, had I seen you, had I not known you and I'd seen that video, I would have expected you to, obviously not have a coherent, basically answers to his questions, you know what I mean? So the fact, as soon as because I'm from the perspective that you're my friend, I thought, oh wait, he's not letting my friend talk. So, I can understand both sides. The initial impression he had was, I would have that impression had I not known, if you know what I mean? So, appearance is always deceiving, if you know what I mean? Because I know you, so, again, I could be unbiased for anyone watching this. That's why I want interviews. I don't wanted to give people... Well, I wanted to give you a chance to talk more. I don't want this to be more about communists. I don't want it to be just, if you take the time to listen to someone, you could try to understand them, and hopefully... Is there anything else you want people to know to just understand you, or do you think you've made your point clear at the moment?
Well, I'm not sure the point of this video is necessarily to understand me. I see the point of this video far more as understanding my politics and having, I suppose, a wider perspective on the video, the Communist and Proud video already online. I hope that, I hope your viewers have found this interesting, really. Besides that, yeah. It's been nice to have this opportunity to talk and discuss. I look forward to the next one, mate.
Yes, and my videos are, well, at the moment they're just poetic stuff, but I have a very mixed group of friends, so I have some very funny friends. You're very funny, but someone who specialises in comedy. You
sure about that? No, sorry, go on.
No, yeah. I won't say them because, it took me a while to lock you down this took a while to organise, so, thanks for staying. Well, thanks for the stars aligned today, so thanks for coming today.
That's been an absolute pleasure, Blaine.
And I'll be back with more videos at some point. And this guy, keep an eye on him. He's special. Bye.
Take care, all. Bye-bye.